Welcome to Chapter 9. This chapter we're going to talk about talent, careers, and development. By the end of the chapter, you should be able to identify the importance of talent management and discuss 2 reasons it may be difficult, explain the importance of succession planning and the steps involved in the process, differentiate between organization-centered and individual-centered career planning, list options for development needs analysis, discuss 3 career issues that organizations and employees must address, identify several management development methods. So, talent management. We have strategic talent management. So long. Why is it? Well, let's look at what it really means. We're going to identify the most important jobs in a company that provide long-term competitive advantage. From there, we're going to create appropriate HR policies that will develop those employees so they can effectively work in those jobs. Interesting enough, a lot of people would assume that the most important jobs in a company would be the CEO. But let's think about that. Does the CEO really provide a long-term competitive advantage? More so than those on the ground who are doing the work, interfacing and interacting with the customers and the vendors, who are doing the work to create the widgets or whatever. We're all the most important jobs. It's not just one area, one department. You're having to pull from all levels of the company. Who will help us achieve our competitive advantage? And what policies do we need to develop so that these individuals can effectively work in their jobs? ITM is integrated talent management. It's a holistic approach to leveraging our human capital and building human capital. When you maximize the value of talent management, you're developing those individuals that you have in your team now, as well as hiring people externally to bring them into your team. You're creating pools of talent so that you have, remember I said you're pulling from all the areas, so that you're developing enough people that can do this great job in a great way and broadening their competencies so that they're able to do even more efficiently and effectively. You then create forecasts that are short term, that are going to help you see where your team members stand versus where you would like them to be in shorter periods of time. So you can make that in a 6-month or 12-month forecast. And these can be deemed more reliable than a longer term forecast, where someone could be looking out 5 years or 2 years. Something you need to also be able to manage is the ability to balance between the employees and the company's ownership of career development. The employees have one viewpoint and one need and one desire when they look at their career development. The company has another one, and as a HR professional, you need to learn how to establish balance between the two. Figure 9.1 shows you how to integrate talent management. You acquire team members, you properly staff them within your organization through recruitment, selection, and placement. Those are then factored into your components of training. They go through training, development, appraisals, You look at compensation and making sure that people are compensated well, how well you're managing their performance, and their career planning and succession planning. The career planning on where they would like to be in the organization, where they would like to be in their life, because where they would love to be in their life may, the company may be limiting that. They may have aspirations of one day becoming a CEO. Well, it may not be of this organization. And succession planning is planning for their departure from the organization and who will come in and assume their role when they leave. From there, you focus on results and work outcomes, building the management talent, creating important job talent, establishing and encouraging positive work attitudes, and you're focusing on retention, on retaining the quality talent. Now, putting things in perspective. If you look at your people like inventory, companies have to pay attention to your employees' needs. Look at each person as you would each t-shirt you have on a shelf, each car that you have on the floor, each handbag that you have, right? Those are each, if you look at it that way, those are individuals and everyone has their own need. So you have to learn how to successfully attract and retain talent, to look for individual characteristics that lead to success on the job. Provide good quality development opportunities. And make sure that your management team can build and maintain confidence in the team members. When we're looking at information systems, you're having to integrate all the pieces of your puzzle into one whole. Pull together your HR, your operations, finance data, and get those insights on your people that otherwise you'd have struggles obtaining. Information systems is an awesome tool to help with the decision making. So currently, if you're using both the manual and automated systems, that's where we currently are. And the ability, to effectively and efficiently use this tool is key to bringing those pieces together as one. So let's look at the scope. When you identify the right jobs that will be the focus of your efforts, that's where you have a targeted job. Remember we talked about the KSAs in the previous chapter, chapter 6, I believe. Those are the competency models that we use. And you can have libraries of competency models that can be maintained that ensure that you're efficiently planning for your talent, those coming in, retention, and those that depart. It's very broad and complex. And this is the reason why that if your HR team is not adequately skilled to do this, you need to be able to outsource that to a group of individuals that can properly manage these, so that you know that you're covered, that you've considered all of the potential risks and threats that can impact your management efforts. Development risk management is where companies encourage promising employees, right? We're not talking about the ones who are flaky jakes and who are on Snapchat the whole day. We're looking at the promising employees, and we're encouraging them to volunteer for development training. This step helps to reduce the risk of developing talent of an employee who would choose to leave when they get the skills gained. What you're trying to actually do is encourage them to take these newly acquired skills and apply them in their roles in the organization, to also be inspired and aspire to being promoted within the organization, so that those acquired skills can have even greater value. Make or buy, the concept is that you're going to develop a competitive human resources or hire individuals who are already developed from somewhere else. and bring them in, and then they're embedded within the organization. So either you make them within your own, you help to create this within your own, or you get them externally and they're already ready to go. It's like you're just a plug and play. Global development is where you're focused on developing employees who can help you manage people and operations in diverse environments. There are certain suggestions for creating this plan, making sure that global cultural fluency is a priority. Tap into your best minds, both inside and outside the organization. Offer diverse skills development and determine skills gap and advancement candidates. You need to know where the gap between where they are and where they need to be, and making sure that you're properly advancing candidates who are more qualified to go higher up or to achieve greater responsibility. Hypos, high potential individuals. They show high promise for advancement in the organization. You can already see them. You can visualize them working their way up the corporate ladder. You have to consider how you can keep these individuals engaged. That's by discussing their future with them, discovering what their aspirations are, offering them high-profile assignments, offer interaction with senior leaders, putting them at the side of a senior leader, whether it's in a luncheon, a brunch, a breakfast, or a meeting, can be inspiring, and it can help them aspire to go further up. There's an assessment that Figure 9.2 shows where you have a strong motivation to excel in pursuit of challenging goals, a humility to put group needs before your own, an insatiable curiosity to explore new ideas and to share those ideas. You have a keen insight into connections that most people would overlook, strong engagement with work tasks, and people, and a determination to overcome obstacles. You're not sharing the problems, you're coming with solutions. You're finding a way over, around, under, or through an obstacle. That is how you determine if a person's hypo. Succession planning. I've shared this already. People are going to leave, whether it's because they retire, they transfer, they're promoted, there's turnover, there's death, whatever. They quit, they win the lottery and they're out of there. They're going to leave at some point in that role. You need to have a system that's developed to replace them. When you're defining these key positions and you're involving key managers in identifying talent, you're also making sure that mentoring and coaching is available. As I've said before, it is my strong belief that when an employee comes into a company, there should already be an assigned or a volunteer mentor that takes them under their wing and helps them along the way. Succession planning process. You integrate with the strategy. What competencies are needed? Which jobs will be critical? How should those positions be filled? Are any international assignments required? You then bring in top management. What is the CEO's role in this planning process? Are there any high-level executives that are involved? Are top executives mentoring or coaching anyone else? Is there authority or accountability for these goals? Then it goes down to assess your key talent. Does employees have important competencies? What's missing that they need to have? Do assessments or evaluations provide useful information? Are results examined to determine individual talents, and are individuals in career goals or interests compatible? From there, you have to follow through with how important those competencies are needed to be developed. Can the individual interact with executives and board members? Can talent pools be created for top level jobs? What are the incentives for individual development? And then monitor and evaluate, right? Just like the 4 functions of management: planning, organizing, leading, controlling. Controlling is the monitoring and evaluating. Are multiple metrics used? Are successors effective after they've been placed? Are the positions filled internally or externally? And is the process viewed favorably? If not, go back to the drawing board. So you have your planning decisions, identifying your current talent. The 9-box talent grid is a matrix that shows past performance and future potential of all your employees. Then you're measuring for succession planning and understanding that this could help reduce your cost and turnover. It can increase performance and profitability. And then there's, of course, some planning models that are computerized that make this an even more easier task. The grid that I just mentioned is visualized here, and you can see the potential assessment from low to high and the performance assessment from low to high. Succession planning decisions, we have some benefits to this. Confidence for stakeholders, right? It enhances the brand. There's career opportunities, the basis for continual review of staffing requirements, and there's always a supply of high qualified individuals. Your career is a series of work-related positions that you occupy throughout your life, and they're usually intertwined. They're complementary to each other. That's what makes it your career. It stays within the realm of. It's not a hopscotch from, you're a plumber, then an artist, then a scientist. Like, where's the complementary? There, it's not a career. Those are a bunch of jobs. So it's a series of work-related positions. And there's a changing nature. We have our traditional perspective that the employer is expected to lead you through development and you're focused on upward moves. The contemporary perspective that we're going with now is more proactive, and you're taking a more proactive approach and ownership of your satisfaction, determining your skills and competencies, that there's a focus on work-life balance, and that you have personal challenges in addition to what you're dealing with in the workplace. Figure 9.5 is looking at the elements of the protein career. There's a psychological success that is the focus, and you're having to make sure that there's some self-directed and proactive elements, that there's a willingness and ableness to adapt to change, that you're sending feedback to form accurate self-perceptions, that reward is pride in your work and achievement, that there are numerous short learning cycles. Those short learning cycles are vital. Sometimes we extrapolate and have things so long, but the feedback takes too long to get. And so when you have those learning cycles shorter, you can get that feedback sooner. You can then control, you can track where you are. And then lastly, the career plan is driven by the employee, not the employer. With an organization-centered plan, the focus is on identifying the career paths that provide for progression between jobs in an organization. That how we're going to logically move a person from one job to another. And from there, we have our career paths, and that's your movement through these opportunities over time. We have websites and career planning that can be used for career assessment, information, and instruction. Here's a visual of this. When you have the organizational perspective, you can look at career ladders and assess potential and needs of individuals. You can match those organizational needs to that person's KSAs. Those are funneled into the person's career. On the flip side, the individual perspective, that person is planning their career goals, their life goals. They're assessing alternative paths inside and outside the organization. They're noting their own personal changes through their progressions. They're identifying their own personal KSAs and interests. And from there, it's helping to dictate and determine their career. So when there's an individual-centered career plan, we're focusing on the individual's responsibility for their career rather than on the organizational needs. You first start with who you are. How are you viewed? Investigate your options. Create an overall plan. Take action to advance that plan. And the cycle continues. You keep working through it until it becomes a reality. And as you grow and as your desires and goals change, that career plan keeps evolving. You keep saying, who am I? How am I viewed? What are my options? Here's my plan. These are the steps that I'm going to take to make that plan a reality. And you continually do it. We have our interest, our skills, our personality, our values. That's what makes up our profile. We have general career periods. In your early career, that's your 20s to your 30s. You're identifying your interest in exploring different jobs. You're concerned about rewards and acquiring different skills and capabilities. From age 30 to 50, you're mid-career, believe it or not. You're advancing in your career. You're focused on concerns. You're focused on values and your well-being. Late careers, your 50s to your 60s. You're updating those skills. You're settled in. Your focus is on mentoring, continuing your career. You're also concerned about being disengaged. If you're no longer passionate about the work that you do, this happens usually within this space. Career end. And this is usually because it's focused on retirement or going part-time. You're planning for this. You're planning for things that are not work related. And this is usually between your 60s and your 70s. I don't ever plan on ending my career. I plan on rewiring my career. In my 60s and 70s, I plan on still being an entrepreneur. I intend on still teaching. I will rewire how I do it though. But there is not going to be a day where I'm just not going to work. My brain thrives on the creativity and the problem solving and the interaction of work. But that's just for me. I'm into rewirement, not retirement. So when we look at our transitions and we have the entry career and we have job loss, here's the 4 factors of supervisors, feedback, time, and the work itself. Various retirement issues that we have to consider when we need to adjust is the need to belong, self-direction, satisfying achievement needs. That's me right there, that achievement needs. The personal space and goals. I am goal-oriented. I am self-directed. These are things for me that I'm just like, ugh. So these are areas that we have to then be able to adjust. And honestly enough, that usually if you've been a worker for someone else, it is hard for you to be self-directed. I've been an entrepreneur for many years, and even as a college instructor, I'm still pretty much self-directed. I have little oversight. There's no one telling me every day what I'm supposed to do. So for me, self-direction is not an area of adjustment, as so more so another person who has been in the grind of having managers oversight, having to have reports weekly or daily or monthly. And then what happens is that 9 to 5 that you're accustomed to is no longer. That can be a huge burden for some. Something else is understanding the means for gradual disengagement from the organization, and that you're and here's something that is really key is if an organization can have a phased in retirement, that they can create consulting arrangements where you can now be a consultant. We phase you into a consultant role. And the ability to call back some retirees. There's some that you re-engage them back into the workforce part-time or even full-time. Some common problems that come up for an individual is technical and professional workers, dual career ladders that you face. Women have concerns when it comes to careers. You have the glass ceiling, you have sequency, global career concerns. If you're a repat, if there's global development that has to be factored in. And then when you have couples that have dual careers and they're trying to balance family and career, and if they have to relocate, what if one spouse got a promotion and the job requires them to relocate? How does that impact the other spouse? So we look at developing HR, And development is our effort to improve the abilities of our team members so they can handle a variety of assignments and we can cultivate their capabilities beyond what is required by their current job. The goal is to cultivate them to have the skills of the job above them. So, the difference between development and training. Training is short term. You're learning specific behaviors, demonstrating specific capabilities. There's performance reviews, while development is understanding concepts, developing judgment and capabilities. It's long term. There's availability of talent. There's promotion from within. There's a competitive advantage. There's the difference between developing and training. Our focus could be on lifelong learning, where there's a desired expansion of skills, reinvention of that person, where there's a desire for a career change or a shift of their capabilities, or the shift of the company's capabilities. Development needs analysis focuses on our assessment centers, where you have a collection of test instruments and you have various exercises that are designed to see where that employee needs further development. You can administer psychological testing, which is very good in seeing a person can see how their mindset and their behavior plays a role within their place in an organization, but also how they are seen external of that organization. Because we have to remember that we have people in the company that go home, right? So, what psychological trauma are they facing in the workplace or facing at home? So, there's various things of that nature. And then, of course, our performance appraisals, seeing how well you're performing over a period of time, how well you're performing compared to the standards set by the organization. We have job site approaches, off-site approaches. Job site is rotation of jobs, coaching, corporate universities. You know, you have McDonald's University, for instance. Um, Chick-fil-A has their own kind of like university. Career development centers. Off-site approach would be sabbaticals and leaves. You have a lot of professors at universities that take sabbaticals of 12 months, 18 months. There's seminars, classroom courses, management lessons learned from job experience. There's job transitions, challenges, and obstacles. You can have a new job. You can, a challenge could be starting or changing some major organizational feature. An obstacle could be a bad job situation. Those all factor into the lessons that you need to learn. You need to learn how to set agendas, handle relationships, manage values, and the personality qualities of having the temperament necessary to deal with chaos and the ambiguity of being a manager. And there has to be a self-awareness. You have to understand you and how you affect others. That if you're having a bad day, understand that that energy is being passed on to your team members and to your coworkers, to your customers. Supervisor development topics can focus on basic management responsibilities, time management, and HR training. When we look at leadership development, these four things factor in: modeling, coaching, executive education, and management mentoring. The stages in mentoring relationships. You have a less experienced manager who admires the senior manager's competence. They recognize him or her as a source of guidance. There is a stage of initiation of 6 to 12 months, right? A more experienced manager realizes the younger manager has potential and is coachable. That is key. You can have potential and be a person who no one can seem to coach. You just want to do it your way. But if you're coachable, this phase is now 6 to 12 months. And then you can see initiation, cultivation, separation, and redefinition ongoing. You can see how those are all factored in. With that, that is the end of this Chapter 9 lecture. If you have any questions, please email me. Thank you.